After the plane crash also, he was alive. Today with the grandnephew of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, and me, myself, a big admirer of him. I'm really glad to have you, sir, over here. So my first question would be, since we have heard a lot of things about Netaji, that after the plane crash also he was alive. So I would want you to tell our audience, like, have you ever heard about it, because you are from the family, so you might have the evidences and everything.
Hello, and all the best to your audience.
Thank you so much.
See, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose would always be alive in the heart and soul of the people of India, not only the people of India, to all freedom-loving people across the world. Netaji, from Taihuku Airport in Taiwan, today's Taiwan, he was taking a flight, but that flight crashed. He did not die on the spot. There were 13 passengers in that aircraft. 7 survived, but Netaji unfortunately wasn't one of the 7. He had third-degree burns, and late at night, on the 18th of August 1945, he passed away at the Army Hospital in Taihuku. Habibur Rahman, one of his co-passengers, senior officer of the Indian National Army, did survive. And Habibur Rahman told the story. He was a witness also in the Shahnawaz Committee inquiry, where Shahnawaz conclusively established that Netaji perished on 18th of August 1945. Now, yes, there were controversies. See, when people wouldn't like to accept somebody's death, then how could such a person die? But Netaji is immortal. His mortal remains are kept at the Renkoji temple in Japan. There has been a demand from the family, from Netaji's only daughter, Anita Bose. She has written a number of letters to the Prime Minister that her father, the liberator of India, she has said that Netaji happens to be my father, but he is also a national icon. He is the liberator of India. His mortal remains must be brought back to India, because he wanted to come back to India. Now, the NDA government, under the leadership of Narendra Modi, has done an excellent job of declassifying all files pertaining to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. There was a demand from the family, there was a demand from Netaji scholars and researchers that all files should be declassified. And Narendra Modi has done this job of releasing all 400 files pertaining to Netaji's disappearance angle. I am happy to state that we have finally come to a conclusion. You see, earlier the discussion was only for 3 reports. Shahnawaz Committee report in the 1950s. Second commission was the Khosla Commission in the 70s. And then in 1999, Justice Mukherjee Commission was formed. The first 2 commissions established that Netaji died in the crash. But Justice Mukherjee did not agree. So there was a controversy raised. People thought that he managed to escape. But Narendra Modi's release of the files has conclusive evidence has surfaced from 10 reports. There were 11 inquiries. We were not even aware. There were 11 inquiries, both national and international. And out of the 11 inquiries, 10 inquiries have given conclusive evidence that he did die. So Justice Mukherjee is negated. 10:1. So now we also did not believe that he died in the crash till about 2016, as recent as that. But when the inquiry reports, which were kept under lock and key, which was kept classified, has been released and the evidence has come forward. So we fully accept that he did die. So our demand now that the mortal remains of an immortal hero must be brought back to India by 23rd of January 2026. There is some time to make all the arrangements, but if we really want to honor Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, I think the NDA government and Narendra Modi has honored Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose in many ways. He has built a statue in Delhi at the India Gate. He has also made a museum inside the Red Fort. Then in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, one island has been named as Netaji Islands. All that is fine. But you must do the final step of bringing back his mortal remains to India prior to his birth anniversary on 23rd of January 2026. Netaji left India to fight for India's freedom on the 17th of January 1941. As you know, that great escape from our ancestral home in Elgin Road, disguised as a Pathan, he left. From Kolkata, he went to Gomo. From Gomo, he took the Delhi Kalka mail and went on to Peshawar. From Peshawar to Kabul. In Kabul, he was almost intercepted by the British intelligence, and just luck favored him. Just by a few minutes, he could escape the British police. Lot of you are not aware, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose was the only leader in the British era who had a reward on his head. You see, Subhas Chandra Bose, the British intelligence and police, they were given the instruction, shoot at sight orders, but they could not really intercept and catch him in Kabul. From Kabul, he went on to Moscow, from Moscow to Berlin. This heroic journey was not easy, but he had the focus like Arjuna of Mahabharata. As you know, Arjuna, when he was asked to pierce the eye of the fish, he didn't look anywhere. His attention was only focused on the eye of the fish, which he pierced. So similarly, Netaji's one-point agenda was freedom for his country. As you know, in Germany, he took the help of the Führer, Adolf Hitler. Probably Netaji never liked Hitler, but he realized to challenge the British imperialism, you need to take the support of Hitler, because he was growing in power and he was the only leader who could challenge the British. But he realized soon that it is too far, from Germany. It would be difficult to really come to India and fight for India's freedom. Therefore, he again undertook this journey which no other person has ever undertaken, this submarine journey for 90 days from Germany to Madagascar, coast of Madagascar. So, Netaji wanted to return to a free India, but he could not, because he died fighting for India's freedom on the 18th of August 1945.
So, what do you think that the reason is India is actually moving towards his views and thought, or it is exactly the opposite?
You see, Netaji's writings, if you read, Netaji has written his biography, The Indian Pilgrim and the Indian Struggle. So anyone who wants to really know Netaji's thoughts, his ideology, his principles, you must read his own writings. You see, many books have been published on Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Some are very good books, some are not. So if you really want to know Netaji, you must read his own writings. Netaji wanted political, social and economic freedom. But we have to ask ourselves a question. We have attained political freedom, but have we attained social and economic freedom? Unfortunately, we haven't.
Yes.
The fight is on. Social and economic freedom, the fight is on. And equality for all. You see, Netaji wanted an egalitarian society. Netaji wanted equal status for women.
Exactly.
We have not been able to attain that.
Okay.
Only recently, we have got commissioned officers, women officers in the Indian Army. But Netaji established the Rani of Jhansi regiment way back in 1943. Women had equal status to fight for India's freedom. But we have not been able to do that. Netaji was very inclusive. You see, in his Indian National Army, there were 60,000 soldiers. But do you know, out of these 60,000 soldiers, there was not a single Hindu, not a single Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Buddha or Jain. Then who were these 60,000 soldiers? They were Indians. They were Bharatiyans. He could establish the citizens of our country as Indians. You are Indians first, then you are
Exactly.
Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. But today, what do we find in India? Politics, they are dividing communities. For vote bank, they are dividing society. Netaji would have vehemently fought against this kind of division in political life. So my message to the political fraternity, if you really respect Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, if you really want to build Netaji's India, do not divide communities. Do not do vote bank politics. Do not do not bring in religion into politics. You see, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose was a very religious person.
Yes.
He was a very spiritual person. His spiritual guru was Swami Vivekananda.
Yes.
Netaji could implement Swami Vivekananda's character building in his armed forces. When he used to be disturbed, he used to go to the Dakshineshwar temple, Kali temple in Calcutta, and he used to sit there and meditate for hours. He used to get immense strength while meditating in Dakshineshwar Kali temple. But when he came out of the temple, he never brought religion. He never mixed religion with politics. But unfortunately, today's most political parties are mixing religion with politics for vote bank. This is not acceptable if you are a follower of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose.
So, since when did he start following Vivekananda? Since we know he followed him, and was it Vivekananda's teachings that inspired him to become a freedom fighter, or someone else?
See, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, at a very early age of 13, was searching and looking for a guru. In fact, he left house at that very impressionable age, searching for a guru. He wanted to adopt sannyas, but he did not. He came back. If you see in his writings, he has written, to accept sannyas when the nation needs you is a refined form of betrayal to the nation. He was extremely spiritual person, but he realized that he cannot become a sannyas, cannot become, a sannyasi, because the nation needs him to fight for India's freedom. So he was greatly influenced by Swami Vivekananda for two reasons. One is, Swamiji, according to me, is not really a sannyasi. Swamiji, according to me, was a revolutionary spiritual leader. Swamiji was a revolutionary. He was not a person to renounce worldly life. He believed in modern science and technology. So he realized when he went out searching for a guru, he came back and he accepted Swami Vivekananda as his guru, because Swamiji was both spiritual and revolutionary. Swamiji's message of character building, Swamiji's message of equality, all these things literally drew Subhash Chandra Bose to Swami Vivekananda. In fact, in one of his writings, he has stated that if Swamiji was alive, he would be at his feet. But unfortunately, he could not experience that. Swamiji was not there. But he constantly kept reading Swamiji's writings, his letters that he wrote to many people. And he took this meditation as as a thing to calm his nerves. He imbibed from Swamiji. But we should not make the mistake of saying, a lot of people say that Netaji took to sannyas. He never did. Because he was a man of action. He was a man, a revolutionary to the core. But yes, he was spiritual. Like I said, he used to visit Dakshineshwar temple and pray. But the moment he came out of Dakshineshwar temple, he completely removed the religious part and he became an Indian. He became an inclusive person. Religion was not the factor. I would give you one story that he experienced when he was in Singapore. As you know, Singapore was the headquarters of the Azad Hind Force, Indian National Army.
Yes.
And Netaji established the first free government of undivided India. That was the historic occasion on the 21st of October 1943. And Netaji was the first Prime Minister of undivided India.
Exactly.
At that time, when he was building up the Indian National Army, the Chettiar community had a very huge temple in Singapore. In fact, I am privileged, I also visited this temple when I had gone to Singapore about 12 years back. And the Chettiar high priest invited Netaji and said, please come and visit our temple. The Chettiar community would like to give a huge donation to the Azad Hind government and Indian National Army so that you can carry on the battle for freedom. But you must come with only your Hindu officers. That was the criteria. So Netaji wrote back to the high priest of Chettiar temple in Singapore that I am so happy that you have invited me to your temple to give a donation. But I do not have any Hindu officers in my Indian National Army, I only have Indian officers, consisting of Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians. So if you allow me to come with my Indian officers, I am willing to come. The high priest of Chettiar temple had given the permission to Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose to walk into the temple with his Hindu, Muslim, Christian officers.
Wow.
And this story I have heard from Abid Hassan. Again, I had the privilege of meeting him. I was, of course, a youngster. He used to come to our One Woodburn Park house in Calcutta. And Abid Hassan told us, when Netaji entered, he was asked to give a speech in the Chettiar temple. And his speech was so arousing. It was like a communal harmony poem that he delivered inside the Chettiar temple, which really united us. When we entered the temple, a tika was put on our forehead. Obviously, if you go to the temple, a tika is put. So a tika was put on Netaji's forehead, Abid Hassan's forehead, and the other officers. But when Netaji came out of the temple, he removed the tika. So Abid Hassan asked, "Sir, why did you remove the tika?" He said, "See, this tika is a sign of a Hindu religion. When I entered the temple, it's a Hindu temple, so tika was applied. You also accepted it. But once I am out of the temple, I am an Indian. And I cannot take my Hindu background to the forces. So I removed it." So seeing Netaji, Abid Hassan and the other officers, they removed the tika. So this was Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yes.
So you must understand. And there is another story that you must you tell your audience. You see, there was an officer called Mehboob Ahmed. He had the privilege to work under Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose. So in an interview, people asked that, "See, you are a very privileged person. You have worked with three national icons. You have worked with Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose. Who would you, give more weightage?" So Mehboob Ahmed replied that, "I have great respect for Mahatma Gandhi. I worked with him. I have also a lot of, regard for Pandit Nehru. But for Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, I am willing to die. I am willing to sacrifice my life for Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, but not for Mahatma Gandhi or Nehru." So this was what Mehboob Ahmed had told. So this was the stature of Subhash Chandra Bose during the battle of the Indian National Army.
So, what was his ideology behind his quote, "तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा"? Like,
you see, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, his message to his armed forces, to the officers of the Indian National Army, to the Indian community who was supporting the battle for freedom. Today, when leaders call for their supporters, they always offer something in return. But Subhash Chandra Bose realized that he has nothing to offer. He can only offer death. So he said, only when the blood of freedom-loving Indians would flow, India would attain freedom. So by give me blood and I will give you freedom, he basically said you have to sacrifice your life, then only India would attain freedom. And with this message, people joined the army. People in thousands came running to join the Indian National Army. So the kind of gigantic personality that he had and the magnetism of his personality drew the crowd, drew the people to INA. But he could only give nothing in return. The return was freedom. He had also said that this freedom we may not even live to see. We may die in the battle for freedom. But he said, in Hindustani he had said, that ये आज़ादी के लड़ाई में हम मरे व जिंदा रहे, ये अहम बात नहीं है. अहम बात ये है, भारत आज़ाद हो गए. So this was the man.
Was Netaji the only leader who could unite all the communities?
Well, you see, there were many leaders who fought for India's freedom. See, the battle for India's freedom, according to me, started way back in 1857 with the Sepoy uprising of Mangal Pandey.
Yes.
Of course, that was squashed by the British forces. And then there were so many other leaders. Shahid Bhagat Singh, Khudiram Bose, Binoy Badol Dinesh, Mashtarda Surjo Sen, who used to come to our ancestral house in Woodburn Park
Oh, wow.
to meet my grandfather, Sarat Chandra Bose.
Okay.
See, Sarat Chandra Bose, he was a barrister, a lawyer, but he helped the revolutionaries by funding them to make arms and ammunition. A lot of people are not aware. See, Subhas Chandra Bose was in the forefront. Behind him was Sarat Chandra Bose, his elder brother, my grandfather. The British police, commissioner of British police that time, Sir Charles Taggart, has written in his book that Sarat Chandra Bose was like a serpent on the grass. He used to fight the British quietly, like a serpent, goes on the grass and then attacks.
Yes.
That was Sarat Bose. I will just relate a story about my grandfather. When he used to come back from the Calcutta High Court in the late afternoon around 4:35, revolutionaries used to sit on the steps of our Woodburn Park house. So as soon as my grandfather, Sharad Bose, got off his car going up the stairs, the revolutionaries used to tell him, Sharad Babu, we are waiting for you. Please help us with your funds.
Okay.
See, those days, my grandfather, Sharad Bose, used to earn around 15 to 20,000 rupees a day. That was his income. When he used to come back, and when the revolutionaries used to ask for money, he used to take out his entire income of the day and hand it over to the revolutionaries. And then go upstairs and tell my grandmother, Bibhavati Bose, I am sorry, I have not earned anything today. I will try again tomorrow. So this was the man, Sharad Bose, Netaji's elder brother, like a mentor to Netaji, constantly supported him both financially, morally, politically, constantly behind him. So he was also a national icon. There were so many others who were also there. Shahid Bhagat Singh, who also united people. Mahatma Gandhi, he could also unite people. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi's mass movement. You see, earlier Congress was a platform to fight for India's freedom. It was not a political party. But Congress was for the elite. Mahatma Gandhi transformed this Congress platform to a mass movement, which of course united people. But Netaji's unity was at a different level altogether. In the Indian National Army, as I have stated, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhas, Jains ate together, slept together and fought together for India's freedom. There was one single kitchen in the INA. Hindus, Muslims ate from the same kitchen, sitting in the same place. This has not happened. No other leader could unite the nation to this extent. So there are a lot of others who have united the country, but Netaji's unity was a different level altogether. Netaji's unity was solid. Netaji's unity was to fight for freedom. We are one. We are Indians. They never brought religion, caste, creed in front. So we have to admit. So if Netaji would have survived and returned to India, India would have been a different nation. India would have been a nation of unity and sacrifice. But unfortunately, that has not happened. There is a lot of division. Politicians are bringing religion into politics. Netaji would have never tolerated this kind of politics.
So, do you think like Netaji should be considered as the father of our nation?
Well, I would consider Netaji as the liberator of India because he fought the final battle for India's freedom. The first battle was 1857 with the Sepoy uprising of Mangal Pandya. Then we had revolutionaries who sacrificed their lives by going to the gallows. They were hanged. Bhagat Singh, Khudiram Bose, Binoy Badul Dinesh, so many others whose names also we are not aware of. Then Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent movement also had its own impact. But the final battle, these are not my words, these are words of Lord Clement Attlee, who signed the transfer of power documents in 1947. These are words of Lord Mountbatten, who told my father, Amionath Bose, who was very close to his uncle Subhash. My father met Lord Mountbatten way back in 1976. And he asked a question, why did you leave India? And Lord Mountbatten clearly said, it was your uncle, Subhash Bose, and the INA. So the INA fought the final battle for India's freedom, which completely destroyed the loyalty and allegiance of the British forces to the British High Command. You see, India was ruled by the British by Indians only. In the British armed forces, there were 25 lakh soldiers. Out of that, only 40,000 were British. The rest were all Indians, Bharatiyas. That Indian component in the British forces revolted. Seeing the INA, seeing the story and the heroic battle of the INA, they realized they are fighting against their own brothers and sisters. This cannot happen. And then finally, as you know, in 1946, the Red Fort trials. There were 3 officers who were tried at the Red Fort. One was a Muslim, Shahnawaz Khan. Second was a Hindu, Prem Kumar Saigal. And the third was a Sikh, Gurbakh Singh Dhillon. So 3 officers were tried for high treason. And उस time एक कहावत था, लाल किले से आए आवाज, Dhillon, Saigal और Shahnawaz. And this message, when it went right across the country in 46, people came out on the streets of Calcutta, on the streets of Lahore, on the streets of Delhi, Mumbai and Chennai with Netaji's photograph saying Jai Hind. British police started firing on them. When the firing started, they only paused for a while. Once the firing stopped, again they started walking. Britain realized then they cannot hold on to India because this mass uprising which happened due to the Indian National Army battle and the INA trials destroyed the loyalty of the British forces. Mahatma Gandhi also wanted to do this kind of a, uprising. Partially it happened, but not fully. But INA could complete the cycle of the uprising and destroyed the loyalty of the Indian forces, Indian component in the British forces. But your question of saying that father of the nation, no, Netaji is the liberator of India who fought the final battle for India's freedom. Mahatma Gandhi is the father of the nation. And it is Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose who first called Mahatma Gandhi the father of the nation. I don't know whether you're aware of this. When Netaji was leading the armed forces in Myanmar, in Burma, going towards Imphal, he addressed Mahatma Gandhi over Azad Hind radio. See, Azad Hind Fauj and Azad Hind government had a radio. On Azad Hind radio, he announced, Father of the nation, give us your lead to fight for India's freedom. So, Netaji himself has declared Mahatma Gandhi as the father of the nation. So, he cannot be called also the father of the nation. He will not accept it. He is the liberator of India. Father of the nation is Mahatma Gandhi.
So, since Netaji believed that India first needs dictatorship, then only the democracy could be happening in a better way. So, what is your point of view?
See, Netaji wanted an egalitarian society, equality for all. He was completely for democracy. By dictatorship, what he meant is benevolent dictatorship. You see, immediately after independence, there was a lot of turmoil in the country. There were a lot of civil uprising. People were very confused. So he wanted a very disciplined society which would follow certain guidelines. Dictatorship not necessarily is the kind of dictatorship that we have seen in other countries. But he was a disciplinarian. If you see in the Indian National Army, he could build up a very disciplined force. He was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. If you see Swami Vivekananda's life and times, he was a very disciplined person, a very modern in his outlook, but very disciplined at the same time. Spiritual and believer of modern science and technology at the same time. So if you see Netaji's life and times, it matches with Swami Vivekananda's life and times. But dictatorship, not to the extent of, controlling the situation, dictatorship to the extent of bringing out a disciplined nation.
Okay. So, when did INA defeat the British forces on Indian soil?
It's a very good question. A lot of people are not aware. You see, when the 60,000 soldiers of the INA, they were marching from Burma to Imphal, I remember that famous tune. In fact, I had the opportunity and privilege to sing with Captain Ram Singh Thakure. He was in charge of the band in the INA. He used to come to Calcutta on Netaji's birth anniversary, 23rd January. He is no more. And we sang with him. He used to play his violin. Kadam kadam badhaye ja, khushi ke geet gaye ja. Ye zindagi hai qaum ki, ye qaum pe lutaye ja. Even when you hear this song today, you get so emotional.
Absolutely, sir.
So with this marching tune, Azad Hind Fauj soldiers marched towards Imphal and they entered Manipur. The historic occasion is 14th of April 1944. The INA defeated the British forces on Indian soil in a place called Moirang in Manipur,
Okay.
just next to Imphal.
Okay.
They brought down the British flag, Union Jack, and they hoisted the Indian national flag. That time the Indian national flag was the charka,
Yes. Yes.
tricolor with charka.
Yeah.
That is the flag Netaji had instructed. Although the Azad Hind Fauj flag was different, it had a springing tiger in a tricolor thing. But Netaji realized that people in India are familiar with the, charka. So he told Colonel Shaukat Ali Malik of the INA to hoist the tricolor with charka. And that flag was hoisted on Indian soil after defeating the British on 14th of April 1944. In fact, I feel that is the first Independence Day of India. It should be celebrated as an Independence Day. And for a period of 3 months, the Azad Hind government was governing in Manipur and Nagaland. There was no British. But of course the British again recaptured Manipur and Nagaland from the Azad Hind government. And when the INA was retreating from Manipur to Myanmar, Burma, Netaji was walking with the Rani of Jhansi regiment.
Wow.
I have heard this story from Captain Lakshmi Saigal. I had the privilege of knowing her. I was posted in Kanpur when I was working with the Tatars. And I used to go in the evening to her house. And she used to tell me all these stories about Netaji. She used to tell me that, see, your great uncle, what a man he was. When she used to tell me, tears used to come rolling down, her cheeks. She told me once that Netaji was injured. He was limping. He had a problem with his foot. But he was walking with them. They had to walk 200 kilometers. So Captain Lakshmi Saigal told Netaji, why don't you get into the jeep? There were jeeps available for the senior officers. Get into the jeep, you go in the jeep. Why are you taking the trouble of walking with us? So Netaji had told that I am giving leadership to the Rani of Jhansi regiment and the Indian National Army. I cannot walk. I go in the jeep. I have to walk with you. Netaji had walked with the injured foot. He walked with the Rani of Jhansi regiment 200 kilometers. Would leaders of today, in the state that Netaji was, would walk with their supporters? I have my doubts. So these were leadership qualities that Netaji had. And that is how he could get the kind of support in such a short period to free our nation.
So if Netaji would become the first Prime Minister of India and not Nehru, what would India be today?
Well, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose was the first Prime Minister of undivided India, because he established the Provisional Government of Azad Hind on the 21st of October 1943. If Netaji would have returned to India in 1947, it would have been an extension of the Azad Hind government, of undivided India. India would not have been partitioned. I am very clear about that. And Bengal would have also not been divided. It would have been united Bengal. But that did not happen. So the difference would have been, if Netaji would have been the first Prime Minister, he is the first Prime Minister of undivided India. If he would have also continued as the Prime Minister in 1947, India would have remained united. There would have been no partition of India on religious grounds. Because if you see, there were so many Muslim leaders, Muslim soldiers, Muslim army officers in the Indian National Army who fought not for Pakistan, they fought for India's freedom. Habibur Rahman had to go across to Pakistan because his home was in Pakistan. He did not divide the nation. It was communal political leaders of that era who divided Bengal and partitioned India. They were traitors to the nation. I completely agree with this view that political leaders who divided Bengal were traitors. Political leaders who partitioned the country on religious grounds betrayed the nation. They were traitors. Netaji would have hanged the traitors. If Netaji would have returned, it would have been united Bengal, it would have been India, there would have not been any Pakistan. I would tell you a story that I heard from my father, Amyunath Bose. He had invited Muhammad Ali Jinnah to Calcutta at Darbhanga Hall. At the Calcutta University, Muhammad Ali Jinnah had come to give a talk. And my father saw when Jinnah spoke, he spoke so much about unity, about communal harmony. He never raised the question of Pakistan. This was in the mid-30s that he had come. See, the Pakistan issue came up only in the Lahore conference in 1940. Prior to that, Muslim League and Muhammad Ali Jinnah never wanted Pakistan. They were completely alienated in India because Jinnah realized that he cannot share power in India. Then only he raised the Pakistan issue. It is the Indian leaders responsible for the partition of our country. Jinnah was totally put in one side, so he had no option. But what my father was told by Muhammad Ali Jinnah in the mid-30s, that I am willing to accept one leader, as my leader, as Prime Minister of India, and that is your uncle Subhas Chandra Bose. So if Subhas Bose would have returned, Muhammad Ali Jinnah would have accepted him as his leader and as Prime Minister of our country.
What would you tell about the relevance of Netaji's ideology in 21st century India?
Well, I am writing a book, The Bose Brothers, Sarath and Subhash, the relevance of Bose brothers, Sarath and Subhash in 21st century. I am trying to publish this book by January 2026. You see, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose was a freedom fighter, a national icon, a visionary. So were many others. But how are they relevant in today's India? That we need to analyze. I feel Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose probably is the only leader who is extremely relevant in today's India. What do we see today in India? Divisive politics, vote bank politics, religion into politics, casteism into politics. Netaji would have never accepted this. If we have to save this country today, there is only one path, Netaji's inclusive secular ideology. There is no other path. And this message is to all political parties and the leadership. You want to destroy India, walk the other path. If you want to save India, walk on the path of Netaji's inclusive secular ideology. Today, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose had clearly said, abolish the caste system. It's creating so much of tension in our country. He wanted a society, equal opportunities for all. We have not been able to attain this. India was divided. Pakistan, Bangladesh, today it was East Pakistan earlier. If he would have returned, India would not have been divided. That has happened. We can't change that. But the India that we have today, if we have to save this country, one path is Netaji's ideology. If you don't want to save this country, today what are we seeing? North India is going its own way. Maharashtra is going its own way. South is following its own thing. Bengal is walking its own path. There will be so many partitions in the next 50 to 100 years. I envisage. But if you want to remain, you see, India is not only Uttar Pradesh. India is, all the states combined is India.
Absolutely.
But if you really want to destroy the country and have small partitions, small nations across Indian subcontinent, we have done it once, we will do it again. Unless you bring Netaji's ideology into focus, the youth of our nation has to be influenced. There are only two people who can save this country, their ideology. Swami Vivekananda, the character building among the youth, technology driven, and second is Subhash Chandra Bose, inclusive and secular ideology. So we need to save, and I think the youth must come forward. Our political path has gone completely haywire. The only focus is to win elections. Netaji left the Congress, not because he had any differences with Mahatma Gandhi or Pandit Nehru. He left the nation because he realized an armed struggle is the only path to throw the British out of the country. Congress was not ready for an armed struggle. That is the reason why he left India, to raise the army abroad and fight the British imperialists. He did not think, if he would have remained, he would have been the president of the Congress, he would have continued, he would have done petty politics, what is happening today. Which politician thinks about our nation? Any politician who thinks about our country today will not do divisive politics, would not bring religion into politics, would not bring the caste system into politics. Then only you can save this nation. So I appeal that we are celebrating our Independence Day, but are we independent or are we still Ghulam? The white Saabs have gone, but brown Saabs are still there. So the youth must rise and fight for social and economic freedom.
What was Netaji's relationship with Mahatma Gandhi?
See, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose had real respect and regard for Mahatma Gandhi. There were differences in the way to fight for the British imperialists. Netaji took and believed that only an armed struggle can bring about freedom. Mahatma Gandhi thought that non-cooperation, a non-violent movement can achieve freedom. So that difference was there. But there was real respect, because it is Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose who first time addressed Mahatma Gandhi as the father of the nation when he was leading the Indian National Army in Southeast Asia. And it was Mahatma Gandhi who was extremely fond of Netaji, had said that, Netaji, you are among the patriot of patriots. So there was great respect. You see, differences were there. They used to discuss, there used to be different opinion, but mutual respect was immense. In fact, whenever Mahatma Gandhi used to come to Calcutta, he used to stay in my grandfather's house, Sarat Chandra Bose's house in One Woodburn Park. He always stayed. When the Congress session was held here, Mahatma Gandhi came and used to stay in our house. So personal relations were excellent. It is a wrong, myth that Netaji left the Congress presidentship because he had differences with party leaders. That is completely wrong. There were differences, I am admitting, but he left because he realized that an armed struggle is not possible from within the country. Armed struggle is only possible from outside. That is why.
So, was Netaji a freedom fighter, a visionary, or both?
Well, certainly Netaji was a freedom fighter, but yes, he was also a visionary, because he was again one of the only leaders who had planned 100 years after independence. You see, you're all fighting for independence, but once you attain independence, what do? So that planning he had done. You see, Netaji is the person who formed the first planning committee of India. Today we talk about planning commission, Niti Aayog and all that. But the first planning committee was formed way back in 1938. And Netaji made Pandit Nehru the chairperson of that planning committee. And they planned how to, India, an egalitarian society, an inclusive society. India is an agrarian society, but at the same time, industry should also prosper. So he had done the entire economic planning for our country 100 years after independence. So he, of course, was a visionary. And his message, you see, he was a youth leader. You see, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose died when he was only 48 years old. In such a short span, he contributed immensely to society. As mayor of Calcutta, he used to stand on the streets of Calcutta to clean the roads and to see whether people are able to, live well. How many mayors after that have stood on the streets and supervised?
No one.
But Netaji did that. Netaji's political mentor was Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, another great personality. Today we don't even talk about him. And it was Chittaranjan Das and Subhash Chandra Bose who fought for Purna Swaraj. Again in 1947, we did not attain Purna Swaraj. We only got dominion status. So these are issues which the youth should understand. And a message to the youth, dreams of the youth, he has written books, which I'm sure a lot of you have read, see, it was also based on Swamiji's ideals and ideology, character building. The other thing that Netaji sends a message to the youth, that you should be very focused in life. Suppose you are fighting for freedom, you should be focused for freedom fighting only. Today's world, we have attained freedom, but suppose somebody wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, you should be completely focused on that and not digress or divert your mind. So these are things, meditation, in the sense that you should meditate at times, which would increase your, personality. But I think the time has come that Netaji's own writings, his texts, which he has written, his unfinished biography, like Indian Pilgrim, Indian Struggle, Dreams of the Youth, all these should be compulsory texts in the schools and colleges.
Yes.
In fact, I had given a proposal to the government of India to do this. They had said, yes, we will do, but I don't see it.
And sir, what about the movie that I guess Srijit Mukherjee is the director, he released a movie on Netaji. The entire movie, do you think it was absolutely correct, whatever the theme or whatever the storyline was there?
See, we are a free country. Anybody can write any books. You can write a story. But if you base it on evidence, there is hardly any evidence. You see, Srijit had come to me to discuss about this issue. So I told him that why don't you do a good film on Netaji's life and times? Why are you doing an abstract movie? Because Netaji wasn't any Baba. Netaji himself has said that to accept sannyas is a refined form of betrayal to the nation. Netaji is not going to betray his nation. So, 8 Babas were there. There were rumors of 8 Babas. So, why should you say only Gumnami Baba was Netaji? What about Sholmari Baba in North Bengal? What about the Maharashtra Baba? There is a Madhya Pradesh Baba. So, 8 Babas claimed they were Netaji, but then when they were caught, they said, no Baba, we are not Netaji. Netaji died on 18th of August 1945, fighting for his country. And that evidence has surfaced thanks to the NDA government and Narendra Modi.
Thank you so much, sir.